Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. It's Sunday Night Live. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been doubted by Jose Mourinho. Look at the thumbnail because even Ole's laughing. It's hilarious. How can you doubt a man who has changed the club's course and path over the last 6 years? But I'm joined by Adam. Adam, how you doing, pal?
Yeah, good mate, cheers.
Good to have you on again. So soon after the last time as well, but Flex and Rant's not available tonight, so nice to get you back on. Let me just read you the quotes, because some people might not be aware of it. It's typical Mourinho. It's laced with the real message without really putting the real message out there. He also said something about Pogba, which we'll talk about in a minute. But his quote was, he was talking about the Fulham-Chelsea game. Scott Parker's come in for Ranieri. Obviously, Mourinho has always been a fan of Ranieri, and he said something along the lines, "You're telling me Scott Parker's better than Ranieri?" He's not. But he said, but sometimes in football, and you have the example with my former club, which is Manchester United, sometimes changes on the immediate. I don't believe too much in these changes in the long term, but these changes on the immediate, there are scenarios, some positive results. So basically saying he doesn't believe in these short-term managers being given a long-term opportunity and that they should stick with people like him and Ranieri, which interestingly, when I was driving back from the match yesterday on Talk Sport, that was again, there was somebody called in on about this and they were saying, well, you know what, there isn't a manager a caretaker manager that's ever been successful. Di Matteo won the Champions League, got the permanent job and was sacked in a few months. So what are your thoughts on old Jose again?
Yeah, I think the key word there is change, and he's one person who's not been able to handle change because football has changed, especially management. And we all know that the dinosaur days of management are absolutely dead. It's a head coach. It's someone who can coach someone new with different ideas who comes through now. The age of a football manager is dead. I mean, look at the clubs now that have got directors of football and people like that in a position. It's now a team. It's not just a manager anymore. And Mourinho was struggling with that from the get-go at United because I think Ed Woodward was trying to do things that he wasn't happy with, and the fact now that he's lashing out a bit at Ole because Ole's come in with what seems to be the perfect team for United, which is working and has got everyone excited, and he's just he's a little bit bitter, to be honest. He has got that air around him, but I think it reminds me of his reaction to Pogba winning the World Cup in the summer. He had nothing good to say about Pogba getting the World Cup and how well he did. It just takes me back to that. He's done it before. He's got a form for it, as we know, and he's lashing out again because someone else has done better than him.
It's interesting because Sophie just said in the live comments there that Jose always says something for reaction. I disagree. I think he does do that, but I agree with Adam on this. I think he's done it because he's bitter. Because he also said about Rakitic. He says, I think Rakitic is the best midfielder in the world, or one of them, but he needs to boost his Instagram and social media platform because that's how you get considered to be it, which is clearly a pop at Paul Pogba. And it's like, you know, mate, you got the sack because you were crap. I have a lot of respect for Mourinho. I've always said this. I was quite late to sort of being Mourinho out, but when I was very forceful with it. And I want to know. Well, you can tell us about that, Adam, in a minute. But I have respect for him because his Wikipedia page is very good. But I believe he's finished. I think Chelsea did the same thing. And this is just bitter. You're finished, Mourinho. Go to Italy where it's a slower pace of life and you might be okay there. But in the Premier League, you're done. Everything's moved on and you need to move on with it. And I think it's just very, very bitter. Because the thing with Solskjaer, Adam, as well is, yeah, look, there is no caretaker manager that's gone on and been consistently successful. But I'm sure somebody said, 50 years ago that there was no young team that could go and dominate Europe like the Busby Babes were going to do it. Somebody's got to break that path at somebody. Somebody always does it first. And, Solskjaer should be given the job. And I think Mourinho is just bitter. And I understand that to a certain extent because, he's got an ego and he's always been like this. And it must hurt. And to be honest, I just think it just portrays the fact that he's very, very hurt, that he's being embarrassed.
Yeah, it's exactly that. He's lashing out now. He's had his time to reflect on what's actually happened, and in his head, he's still convinced he did a great job at United. I mean, the comment that he made about his best ever season being the season we got second, which was last season, is laughable. That wasn't his best ever season. I mean, he was just taking the mick and lashing out at the board. Then, like you said, he doesn't directly say things. He just drops little bits into each comment to make a dig at someone else, and that one was a dig at the United board. It was clear as day what he was doing. We could all see it, but I said back in the day, he got away with his little antics and things like that. I mean, I was like you. I was pro Mourinho, but for me, Mourinho was the man when Ferguson left. I thought the players that were still at United then, i.e. the old school players like Vidic, Fernand and Evra, I thought Mourinho being the three-season man would have kept us at least comfortably in the top four competing. Then he would have had his 3 years done and we'd have been able to move on with the club.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was perfect that timing for him,
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because then we'd have been set to deal with the Peps, the Poches and the Klopps then. But because we hired Moyes instead, we went so far behind that everyone was going to be on a losing battle after that. But obviously there's a certain way of doing things, and I think he's seeing now the way that Ollie's dealing with everything, all the situations, and still getting results and coming across so well with everyone. Even the press can't even get in at Ollie because he just bats them off with the simplest comments and just keeps it simple. Mourinho was never capable of doing that. There was always another agenda, like someone was trying to compare his record to Pep or his history at Real Madrid and why that ended bad. Everything just kept coming up with Mourinho, and it was always about him, and it was just as simple as that. It always will be, I think.
We've got a few super chats to read here. Philip Burtonwood says, "Is that a new training jacket you're wearing, Mark? And where did you purchase it?" I think this one's quite old, actually. I've had it probably 2 or 3 years. This is probably right at the start of Adidas, so you struggled to get it. I'll sell you mine for £1,000 and I'll sign it for you. Kisali Chakrabarti says, 11 points away from 4th, impossible. 3 points away from 3rd. Oh, doubting short-termism. Amazing he thinks 2 years plus 3rd term sack is long-term. We've also had a super chat from Adam Morris. If Ollie doesn't get this job, there will be riots. Think with our injuries we can beat Arsenal, and your Southampton vlog was great, Adam. There you go, Adam. Shout out for you. And Craig McCullough Games HD says, if Mourinho was still here, we would not be in 4th, we would be lower. He's just jealous that Ollie's doing a better job. Look, I don't even want to think. We only are talking about Mourinho because of the quote today. I don't even want to think where we would be. And this is, get yourself down Old Trafford if you can get a ticket, because it's just fantastic at the moment. But one thing I must just say as well, we were talking about this on Thursday. Ollie's got to get the job, and I think everybody really relieves that now. But what I would say is that I was talking to Tony O'Neill, who's the guy on the door at Hotel Football. He's wrote books, really great United, top red, and proper top red. And we were talking about it yesterday, and I've got to shout him out because it was him who said it. It's not my idea. I could have took credit, but it was his. And he said he reckons that United are not giving him Solskjaer the job, Adam, because they're going to wait till the end of April because it's all about season tickets, corporate packages, and at the moment the buzz is there and they can sell all these tickets. And obviously, if they announce Ollie now, it's like, and then we go and have a bad few results. It's a bit stagnant, isn't it? So it's all about the timing, and it's about keeping that buzz going, that uncertainty, and that's what it is, which I thought actually is probably quite, you can see it from a business point of view, and it's probably a lot of truth in it.
Yeah, it's quite astute, really, to be doing that. You can see the thinking about it. Because I know now from where I sit in the Stretford end, so if you can picture Old Trafford with the white Stretford going across the Stretford end. We sit just below the R of the Stretford end, and the T and the R sections of the Stretford end next season are going to be where the singing section is being moved to. They're redeveloping or trying to boost up the atmosphere and rejig the Stretford end to get more atmosphere from the Stretford end. So there's a lot of people being moved around, and United are ringing everyone in them sections. So you can see the sort of making moves around now. Fans are being informed of that. And then your story there about actual timings. I mean, coming into March now, and the end of March, I think they start doing the offers for renewing the season tickets.
You've got the tour coming up as well.
Yeah, the tour, because I think that was Asia and Australia or somewhere.
Yeah.
This summer. So everything sort of coincides, and now it's going to be one bang. I think one big announcement of all the plans in one go, by the sounds of it, and it just all seems to be being puzzled together now.
Yeah. He's going to get the job. I think that's 100%. Anyway, let's have a quick. There's a few players we're going to talk about. Then we're going to talk about the top 4 race. But let's start off with which one's going to get the most? Well, I think they're both going to. Oh, and must just also say as well, Mike Fergus had open heart surgery yesterday, and apparently afterwards he was watching the United stand, and he is a United stander. So I just want to say all the best, Mike. Pretty major surgery that is. So shout out to Mike as well, and get well soon, mate. From everybody at the United stand. But let's talk about Alexis Sanchez first before we talk about Lukaku. Sanchez. Ligament damage apparently for Solskjaer. My concern with this is, I mean, I don't know where anybody is, where Adam is on this. We haven't spoken about it. I watched Sanchez yesterday in the flesh, and I still think he's a good player, but I know why he's shit now. It's because he's lost a yard of pace, and he ain't ever going to get that back. So we need him out of the club ASAP. My concern about that knee ligament thing is, if he's done his knee ligaments, he could be out till into next season, and then he's a problem for next season.
Yes, exactly that. I mean, knee ligaments, like you said, you're talking months, not weeks, and it does. I mean, he went down straight in front of me where we sit there, and straight away he grabbed his knee and just fell to the floor. And I thought, you know what, that's not a bad thing for the game as it is today. We do need to change it up a little bit. But then you're thinking, like you said, then it's like it's going to be months now before we can actually try and make any moves with him or try and get him out of the club. He's going to be sat there now, doing nothing, being injured on the sidelines by the sounds of it, and obviously that is going to pose a problem for moving him on in the summer if we wanted to. It's another player now who no one's going to want because he's injured, and it's going to cause maybe problems with our transfer structure as well in the summer, because I can't actually see, or I wouldn't have seen Sanchez unless he got injured being at the club in the summer. I think it's now looking like the players around the team, they don't seem to be on the same wavelength at all. You see some of Pogba's reactions yesterday. It just doesn't seem to be. It just seems to be a loner in the team, and it's sort of coming across that way on the pitch now as well, because he seems to be thinking for himself more than doing what everyone else is doing and playing for the team. And I am in total agreement. I do think that's going to be an issue for us in the summer.
The thing about Sanchez is I pity him in many ways, because he's played for Barcelona and Arsenal, and they play a very different style of football. They like to keep the ball. It's all about intricate passing. United now, in the traditional United and what we're playing at the moment, we want to make we move it quick. It was just a bad signing, and again we're going back to Mourinho, but. Yeah, you're right. Pogba was shouting him a few times. He does come across as a bit of a loner, and I think that he needs to go, and I think he probably wants to go himself. But this knee problem could be a problem. But yeah, just going back to that for a moment. I mean, taking away the fact that we need to get him out of the club, and I do feel sorry for him in a way. The reality is, I think if he'd not done his knee yesterday, I don't think we would have won. And I think over the next few months, if he is out for the rest of the season, I've got to be harsh and say I think that enhances our chances of doing well this season, because when you've got the best paid player in the league, there's always that pressure to play him, I suppose. But now we haven't got that problem. We won't have that problem.
Yeah, total agreement with that. Yeah, it's like he's playing. He seems to be playing with that pressure on his shoulders, as well as us being forced to play him because we forked out so much money for him every week. But he is trying to or doing something. I can't even. I mean, we touched on this last time. I don't know where he plays. I don't know what his role is. I've not even seen him in the penalty area in the last few games he's played. I mean, his best game I've seen him was when we played Arsenal away. But to be honest, since then the effort's there, but there's no end product with him at all. He's not setting anything up. He doesn't seem to be happy. He seems to be sulking a lot on the pitch. And is it too much? Is it another world-class player that's going to fail at United? It does look that way, because there's no excuse for a player of that calibre and experience to fail at United. But the system could have hampered him. I mean, he's used to having the nimble, quick-feeted players around him, like you said, at Barca and Arsenal. But United is all cutthroat and attack quickly. If it breaks down, it breaks down. We get it back and we attack quickly again. I just don't think he's got the pace, like you said, to cope with the Ollie system. And the other players in the team, the younger players like Lingard, Rashford and Martial, are just completely suited to how Ollie wants to play. Sanchez does not fit one bit.
Stephen Diak says, hi Mark, do you think we will get a decent CDM? I would hope so. I think we need I wasn't impressed with McTominay yesterday, and I think we do need to bring somebody else in. You need three anyway, really. And just on Sanchez very quickly, because there will still be people who back Sanchez. He didn't play on the left yesterday. He actually played as a number 10 behind Lukaku and Rashford, and still was as bad as ever. So yeah, all right, a lot of people say play him on the right. I don't think that's going to solve it. I think he's lost a yard of pace. Which brings us nicely onto Lukaku. Look, I think there's just saw Draughty Devil in there, and we've had a super chat actually from Gustavo Cortes. He says, Everton fans singing Manchester City chants is the biggest thing I've seen in the Premier League. Your biggest rivals haven't won the league in 3 decades. Keep selling as a fake rival. Get out of your feelings. Yeah, it was a good result for Everton today. But talking about an ex-Everton great, Romelu Lukaku, 4 goals in 2 games, 6 points. Probably a massive part of that, to be fair. I was speaking at lunchtime about how would people do an Icardi for Lukaku swap, and I would think about 2 weeks ago, 99% would have said yes. Only about 60% now. A lot of turning towards Lukaku and saying, he's very important to us. My stance from yesterday was that, look, without him we wouldn't have won that game, but there was countless times when the groans of Old Trafford could probably be heard in London because his first touch outside of the box. My thing in a sentence is, I think if he wants to stay at the club and be on the bench, and when we need to rest people against games like Southampton and Palace, or we've got injuries, great. But I think Lukaku thinks he's a first team striker, and I just don't think Ollie will use him in that way, because against the better teams you've got to hold the ball up, and he just can't do it.
Yeah, I think if we had a fully fit squad, Lukaku doesn't start the game. It's clear. Rashford's number 1 down the middle. I think Lingard and Martial are the 2 either side of him, which is our strongest team. It's like Lukaku. I've slaughtered Lukaku. I hold my hands up all season because I don't think he's done enough. But in the last 2 games, I've praised him because you can only rate on what you actually see. And people have said, why are you praising him now? You've been slaughtering him all season. Because I slaughter him because he doesn't do enough and he mopes around and doesn't put in the effort that the rest of the team does. But if you're not going to do that, then you need to back yourself up with what you've been brought in for, which is to obviously score goals. And if you're going to score 4 in 2 and pretty much win both of the last 2 games for United, then you deserve a pat on the back, and he does deserve credit for the last 2 games. My issue with Lukaku is that's good. You pulled us out of the hole a little bit with injuries and stuff like that, but if you start against Arsenal in probably the biggest game of the season now in terms of the top 4 battle on Sunday, are you going to do it then? And then I'll start thinking maybe he could be a first team player, but it's in the big games where Lukaku has come up short for us. It's the intensity of them games against the bigger teams seem to leave him short. FA Cup game against Arsenal, he did okay from the way he got 2 assists in there, but there were times in there again, like you said, the groans were always there for Lukaku because he doesn't do enough. The ball bounces off him everywhere, but then it's the effort. It's like he can't physically get across. I know I made a point yesterday on the fan cams about him looking a bit leaner. He's been on the treadmill. When he took his shirt off, he looked ripped. I got to give Ollie some credit. He has sort of worked with him and he has got a little bit better, but
I think he's still a stone off, though. I think he was 2 stone off, and now I think he's a stone off. It was never fat. I always said it was never fat. It's muscle, and he's still not what he was last season. He still looks a stone too heavy for me.
Yeah, he's carrying. You're not going to be able to carry that much weight around the football pitch. You don't get the chance to. And centre halves these days that you're coming up against. I can't remember the guy's name. He was an absolute unit at the back with a long hair for Southampton yesterday. He actually made Lukaku look like Lingard when he stood next to him yesterday. That guy, he's a specimen. I can't remember the name of the guy. Some weird foreign name, but he was a step ahead of Lukaku every single ball that came in, and he was always nicking it off him. It's only when Lukaku switched over to Yoshida he actually got more joy because, and that just says it all really. There's 6'6", centre half there, but obviously carrying the same amount of weight, but a lot leaner. These centre halves these days will swallow people up like Lukaku because he is lacking that yard of pace. And if that guy's coming up and sneaking the ball off you in front of you before it's even got to you, then you know you're behind. And then he's moved across. I'll give him credit for actually figuring it out and going across onto Ishida, being the older player and not as strong as the other guy, but. Again, he's like you said, he needs to sharpen up a lot more. It's coming in fits and starts at the moment in terms of what he's doing on the pitch. Goals are good, yeah, but in these big games it needs to be a bit more. We need the pressure taken off And Rashford, Martial, Lingard do that. They can run into the corners and the channels. But Lukaku doesn't hold the ball up well enough to take that sort of pressure off in the big games. It's a different ball game.
Yeah, you're right, and I think with I mean, there's a lot of people in the live comments saying, yeah, Lukaku is a first team striker, and you know, it's all about opinion, of course. If you think that, that's fine, but I think for me and probably for Adam as well, and a lot of people, when he doesn't hold that ball up, because I've played football, like that's possession back to the opposition, and you give possession to the opposition enough, and they will hurt you. You need to keep the ball, and he can't do it. And a lot of players can do it, and he can't do it. And that, for me, is why he will never be a number 9 for Manchester United if we want to win a title. And that's just my opinion, and no one's going to change it. But coming back to what Adam started with, it really pisses me off when I had people tweeting me yesterday saying, you owe Lukaku an apology. What? How do I owe him an apology? Because I've said he's got no first touch and he's crap outside the box, like he has been ever since we bought him. But if he scores for my club, what am I supposed to do? Sit there with my arms folded at Old Trafford and go, no, I've slated him, I shall not celebrate that winner. I mean, wake up. Look, it's all about opinion. Like, there are players in the United team who I don't think should be there. But like when Ashley Young scored the other day, that winner, it was an important goal. Of course you celebrate it. It's your club. It's not a hate thing. It's just, I think we should do better than that. That's how it works. And I think Lukaku, if he wants to stay and be a bench option, great. But I don't think he will. Nick P says, knowing that we know about our board, is a top 4 finish actually beneficial to us? On a boardroom level, Ed's season target will be achieved. Therefore, minimal investment is required for next season. The board's the board, isn't it, at the end of the day? I mean, we've just had a super chat in there about is Sancho £100 million bid true? Let me just go back to that, actually. Jeff Doherty says, a team will take on the persona of its manager and or resist it. Ollie and Mike are a great partnership for Manchester United. I agree with you, pal. But look, when it comes to the board, I still think they're on the table, Adam, really. We don't know. You know, it's great what Ollie's doing, it's great what some of the players are doing, but we've got no concept of what this board is going to do, and the summer will decide that. But personally, I wouldn't give up top 4 in the hope that they'd spend more, because you're still going to be in the Emmerdale Cup. We've got to be in the top 4. That's what it's all about. Unfortunately, I think Wednesday night will be the last time we hear United in the Champions League and the Champions League music till next season.
Yeah, I agree. I think going into the PSG game there with no midfield, well, Pereira, Matic and Pogba, I mean by that, is just a step too far for us, I think. But yeah, the board, we spoke about it before. The board we don't know what's going to happen in the summer. One summer they're spending $250 million. Like last summer, then we're spending about 50 million in total on one outfield player. I mean, Dalot's been a bonus, but that was just a future development sort of signing that in their eyes. They weren't thinking first team ready to go and world-class player there in Dalot. I think he will develop into a good player because he was our game changer yesterday. But in terms of Fred, the only buy, really, we bought a centre midfielder in when we've already got about 5 at the club, and then that was it. So the board could go either way. I mean, I do think Pep's already talking about buying 4 players already for next season. So they're 15 points ahead of us in terms of standings, and they're talking about bringing 4 players in, and they won't be any duck eggs there. There's going to be world-class, ready-to-go players again, no doubt, because they've got a big rebuilding going on down their spine with some ageing players. But for us, it could be anything. It really could, because there are rumours of players that are actually being touted as transfer targets. But how are we actually going to get them? Or are we going to be trying to nitpick and penny pinch like we was last summer and trying to struggle to get these deals over the line? Or are they going to be happy with Ole and actually give him the money that he wants to actually buy these players? Are they confident? Was that just because of Mourinho in the summer just gone? Were they not confident about who was buying? Are they going to have confidence in Ole? We just don't know. Only time's going to tell.
Also, you never know. Ollie might be like, I think I can do it with this set of players, and that might look. Ollie will. I must say this. Ollie will have inexperience to his game. He will. There's going to be something in his management that exposes him that he's going to have to learn from, and I would hope that it isn't the transfer thing, because he might firmly believe he can win the title with his squad, and I would tell you right now he can't win the title with his squad. There's too many weak areas in it. He needs investment in it, and whoever asked that question's right, because United when we qualify for the Champions League, we do spend less because we've got owners who panic about 2 years out of the Champions League. So the 1 year we're out of it, they spend a lot of money to guarantee we're back in it next time, because they lose money from the deals like Adidas and stuff if we're out for a couple of years. So you're right, but they haven't spent a lot in the last 2 transfer windows. There should be budget from that added to whatever else there is. So 200 million minimum, but let's wait and see. Kanika Ken says, given that some of the best teams in the world have good left-footed players, do you think we need one as well? Salah at Liverpool, Dybala, Sane and Mahrez at City, Griezmann, Atletico Madrid and Messi, Barcelona. I mean, left-footed players are good, but the pitches are left and right-hand side, isn't it? So it works both ways. But yeah, I do like a wand of a left foot, to be honest with you. Talking about wands of a right foot, though, Andreas Pereira, that goal. I mean, it was good enough in the ground watching it live, but when I watched it on Match of the Day, I was like, bloody hell, that's even better than I thought. And it actually exposed what I was moaning about, that Luke Shaw, I was shouting, Luke Shaw. And when he cut back into shoot, I was ready to unload on him because it was 1-1 at that time, wasn't it? Yeah, it was 1-1. And then he put it in the top bins. I mean, that was a fantastic goal. I mean, he came into the Sanchez position and then he got an assist as well. And he for 20 minutes, because he was took off, wasn't he? For 20 minutes, it was like, right, that's the Pereira I've always been on about, but we're just not playing him in the right position. He's out of contract in the summer. We were talking about it before the game yesterday, weren't we? He's free to go if he wants to. Do you think Pereira, I mean, even after that goal, do you think he has a future, or do you think, actually maybe he's just not quite good enough?
I think the pressure of it being his last year on his contract has got to him a little bit this season. But what I have to take away from the game against Southampton is the kid has got some balls. He really has to, like you said, take that on. It wasn't just you in the crowd. You could feel it. It's like he had an option left, he had an option right, and then he just tucked in and unleashed that shot into the top corner. It's like you have to have some balls to take that on, playing with the confidence that you have, which he hasn't been playing great, and he'll be the first to admit it probably to the standards that he's capable of. But to actually have the balls to take that shot on, even though he's not been playing great, deserves massive credit. I mean, it's coming to that time now where he's out of contracts, and I do or you don't, because in parts he looks like a quality player. I mean, some of the stuff he's done for the underage groups at Brazilian international level has been brilliant. I mean, how we let him one go. He's not really pulled up trees when he's gone on loan. But to be honest, he looks like he has got something. Have we been playing him in the right position? That's probably the biggest question. But then again, we have got players who are probably better than him when it comes to him playing in the position that he loves the most, which probably is that 10. He does his better work in the final third, but for me, he isn't getting ahead of the main three. I don't think he's got any chance of getting ahead of Sanchez when he's fit, simply because he's that multi-million paid player that has to play, like we said. And is he going to wait around himself? I mean, he might be thinking now's his last chance at this age to actually get a first-team spot at a decent club.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be going in the summer. I'll be a bit disappointed. I'm glad he got his goal yesterday. And actually proved that he has got something in his locker, because we all knew he did. But is Ollie the man to get it out of him? Is he going to convince him to stay? But then if he does get him on another contract, is that convincing us all even more that we're not going to be spending the money that we should be spending in the summer again by clinging on to these fringe players that we have been doing all this season with the contract extensions?
I think you're spot on. I think that you've just covered everything I would have said, really. I mean, I feel with Pereira that we probably, if he does leave, it was lost under Mourinho, because he had 2 US tours where he was the best player on the tour, I felt, and then just didn't get used. And now he's in his last few months. He scored a great goal yesterday, but I don't think we can offer him what he needs, and he's got the power. And I think he will think, you know what, I've probably done enough in these last few months to get myself a move to probably not an Everton in the Premier League, because he might go to Brazil, he might go to Europe, but he can definitely go to a club like that and be playing first team football next year. But I don't think he'll be playing first team football for United. I think if we'd bedded him in 2 years ago, because he was the same player he is now as he was 2 years ago, then maybe he would have had a career at United. But I think he, again, much like Lukaku in the summer, I think Lukaku, if he's not playing first team football, will angle for a move, because he thinks he's better than that. And I think Pereira may well do that, and he's got the freedom to do it. But I thought he was fantastic for us yesterday. But I think let's see how he goes. I'm surely he'll start against PSG. Digital De Silva says, still think we should get Bale? No. And Jeff Doherty, Ollie said in his press conference, Andreas is more suited to play the 8 or 10. Affirmation. United as stand has been saying this for the last 2 years. I've been on about Pereira for years and years. I'll be sad to see him go. I really do rate him, but I think we've just wasted him, really, and it's not Ollie's fault, obviously. The Turbo Warrior 343, would Ollie play Dalot ahead of Young more often next season? To me, he's clearly far more naturally suited than Young, who is clearly past it. I tell you what, he was fantastic yesterday, Dalot, Adam.
He was.
I was surprised he didn't start yesterday, but when he did come on again, he was one of the key players to get us back into that game. A lot of people saying he should be playing on the right wing. I just think, he's a bloody right back. Play him at right back. We haven't got one.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think Flex picked up on it as well yesterday. He said he thought Dalot should have started again yesterday. I mean, it was a prime example of the issue we've got with Ashley Young yesterday. Ashley Young isn't suited to 2 games in 1 week, and yesterday he was found wanting, to be honest. He didn't look anywhere near as sharp as he was on Wednesday, but the guy's coming up to his mid-30s, he's the next winger, for God's sake. This is the problem we have. We're giving these contract extensions. I just hope that he's thinking in the summer, well, Ed Wood was thinking in the summer, that we do need cover at the back. But Dalot, going forward, I think he's better going forward than he is defending. But as soon as we get a settled back four, which we've never had over the last 6 years, Dalot will start to get better defensively and learning more. I think if we sorted out a solidified a centre-back to match up with Lindelof and get that settled, then the full-backs will come and they will learn. We'll start getting a bit more solid at the back. But Dalot was my game changer yesterday because it was like an instant. It was just like down the wing, first ball from Young, ball into Rashford's header came close. Same again on the break. The way he took the ball and tucked into midfield, Lukaku nearly got in his way. Lucky Lukaku give it him back and give it on to Pereira. And that was it. He was the catalyst for the whole second half comeback yesterday. And it's such a young lad to have 2 good games in a row like that, playing on the right wing, not even playing in his normal position. I can see why people will get excited and think he's a winger, is he a winger? But no, he's actually a right back. But it's a positive that we've got such a young right back and a young left back. Can we just build on them in the summer, maybe get a bit more support? I mean, Young's there for 1 game a week now, and then next season it's going to get less again. And then we're clinging on to these older players at the club. I mean, if Ashley Young stays any longer, he's going to be on the list for a testimonial as well. I mean, God, how many more do we want to give a testimonial for with these contract extensions?
Exactly. Bill Baranduku says the game passed Scott McTominay by. Look, you know what? McTominay had a bad game yesterday. Ashley Young had a bad game yesterday. Alexis Sanchez had a bad game yesterday. And if Lukaku hadn't scored the 2 goals, he would have had a bad game yesterday. But in the penalty box, he's probably one of the best strikers in the world. And that'll make a lot of our rivals laugh. But he is, in the penalty box, absolutely sensational. He scored 38 of his 39 goals in the penalty box. So brilliant, but outside the box it was terrible, which makes yesterday's result even better because we didn't play particularly well yesterday, I don't think. But in relation to top 4, we were talking just before we went live, Adam, what a weekend it's been. Arsenal missing that last minute penalty, Liverpool drawing, they're no longer top. But the race for Chelsea's win, I hadn't realised that if Chelsea win their game in hand, they're actually above us. I'm not worried because they've got to go to Anfield and they've got to go to Old Trafford, and we'll definitely beat them. But the race for top 4, Spurs are in it. We're 3 points off them, I think, now. So you've got basically 3 points if Chelsea win their game in hand. 3 or 4 points separating 4 teams going for 2 spots. It's really, really hotting up, and we've got Arsenal next week. I mean, what's your thought about it? Because mine is, obviously, I'm more than happy to build the Arsenal game up and we'll banter Arsenal Fan TV as usual. But I'm actually going to say right now, honestly, to the United stand faithful who are watching this live, if we lose next week, evening Kev, even if we lose next week, or if we win next week, I think if we win next week, Arsenal's chances of top 4 are diminished. But if we lose next week, all it means to me is Arsenal are above us for that week. It doesn't mean top 4's gone. So I think this is going to run for a while yet, and it's a very interesting battle.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I was thinking about it before because obviously it's been mentioned a lot that we was 11 points behind Chelsea after the Liverpool game when Ollie took over. It'd be interesting. I'm sure some statter will bring it up over the next few minutes. But what we was actually behind Tottenham, who were in third, because to only be 3 points behind them now is even more crazy for what the comeback that we've made. Because Tottenham, they like it or not, and people have said no, they're in this, and Tottenham's season is on the brink of complete collapse. They could be playing Europa League in their new stadium next season easily. They're well and truly in this race because the games that they've got coming up are worse than any of the top six. I mean, City and Liverpool away from home for Spurs. And like you said, if Arsenal do beat us next week, I'm not worried about Arsenal. I think they'll just collapse again like they always do. And then you've got Chelsea, who are the whirlwind of a club, who are hit and miss. And I'm confident, like you, I think we will definitely beat Chelsea at Old Trafford and sort that out. But it's coming into it's looking like it's going to be a really good race to the end, because I think United definitely hold the advantage in terms of where they're at, where the team's at and where we are now, because winning these games like we are with the injuries, I think Spurs look worse with Harry Kane in the team. As crazy as it sounds, they seem to be too reliant on him. Arsenal not playing Aubameyang yesterday, the country's leading goal scorer, I think, behind Kane, or maybe on it. But what's that decision all about in a local derby?
Just to cut in, Adam, I thought the hilarious thing was that I don't know why Pereira didn't play, because he's been one of the best players of the season. Some Arsenal fans said they were resting him, and then he brings him on and he gets sent off, so he's missing the game anyway.
Oh no, that is funny. I seen it when it was. I seen the starting lineups for the game. I thought, he's left some players out there. Like I said, Aubameyang, Ozil. I don't know if did Ozil start. I can't remember.
He didn't.
I don't think he did. Did he? No. So they're playing a player who's leaving in the summer ahead of their all-time record wage earner. Their leading goal scorers on the bench, and then they leave their centre midfielder, who in Arsenal fans' eyes has been their best player all season, resting him for the Cabbage Cup on Thursday, or for us on the Sunday, whatever it was, and then he goes and gets himself sent off. So it looks a bit like all these Arsenal, Spurs and Chelsea are just in a bit of a mess at the moment. You don't know what's going to turn up each weekend, whereas us, even with our injuries at the moment, we just seem to be a lot more settled in terms of them four teams fighting for the third and fourth spot. We just seem to be a lot more settled than what the others are, and that's why I'm confident that we'll comfortably be in there. I do think we're going to sneak and get third. I can see it being one of them seasons, and I think we will have to be the ones that stop City from winning that quadruple by taking the FA Cup, because looking at the rest of the teams in Europe, they don't look as good, to be honest. And it could be, this is the one season, this was the season where Liverpool had to win the league, and I think this is the season where City have to win the Champions League, because after this, I don't think it's going to be as easy. I don't think they'll have a better chance, in a word. And I think City and Liverpool's minds are on there. They're gone. They're looking at the top for the Premier League. But the other four teams, we're by far the better team in my eyes.
And I think that's why beating Crystal Palace and Southampton, I said it this time last week, maybe some fans looked at it and went, well, we should win those. I knew the impact of the injuries. I knew how threadbare we were. And I was saying, we're reliant on Lukaku and McTominay and people like that, and they've stepped up, fair play. But the great thing is, obviously we've got Arsenal next week. That's going to take care of itself. But after that, you've got Wolves in the Cup. I think we can beat them. Then you've got an international break. So all these players that are injured, they should all be back for the crunch in April. I mean, and then just talking about next week very, very quickly, you've got, I've got a couple of super chats to read out first. Mr. H says, Adama Traore, frightening pace. If Ollie can sort his end product, he can be one of the best right wingers in league. Goes past players with ease. Thoughts? I've watched a lot of him. He's the final bullshit. And the Turbo Warrior 343, I feel I wasn't talked about much, was the fact Spurs unnecessarily jumped the gun with their new stadium rather than make signings first. Agree. I just think with Spurs, I think Pochettino's doing a great job because they haven't spent any money and they are playing away from their ground, and I think that's cost them a lot. And I like Spurs. I'd like Spurs to get top four with us, but I do agree that they've got to go to City and Liverpool. I reckon they'll lose both those games, and you lose 6 points in this top four race, and I can see them slipping out of it. I really, really can. But we shall have to see. Well, I forgot what I was going to talk about before then, Adam. Oh yeah, that was it. The Arsenal game. So Martial's definitely going to be back because we know he's pretty much back. Ollie just doesn't want to risk him in these, perceived lesser games. I think Martial will probably start against PSG and then play against Arsenal as well. Pogba's going to be fresh for Arsenal because he's got a week off. And I think there's even talk that you might be back for the Arsenal game as well. So there's Matic, obviously.
Yeah.
We're not good. The team's going to gradually start to get better, especially for that Arsenal game. We should have at least Martial and a very fit Pogba, and maybe even one of the other lads. But I don't think we'll see Herrera, Lingard, or Mata because it's hamstrings. But Matic might be back as well. So
yeah, it's looking positive in terms of the timings for the injuries coming back. I mean, I think I wouldn't risk too much against PSG. I think I'd definitely give Martial a run out. He needs to get some match minutes behind him, which works out perfect for the Arsenal game. Rashford I would probably just give a little bit of time to as well. If not, just maybe give him 70 minutes or something like that. It all depends. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always that little bit inside me, being a United fan, that we need to actually give a good account of ourselves against PSG. I mean, you never know what would happen if we scored an early goal in that game, but it's hard looking at it in terms of the way PSG are going and being able to rest everyone because they're playing in the Pontins League of world football in the French league, and they're already, I think it's numerous points ahead. Everyone would have been rested for them for this game, and I can't see them slipping up. There is always that possibility that we could do something, but I'm actually looking towards the Arsenal game thinking that if Matic is back and obviously Martial's actually got game time under his belt and he's ready to go again, then I can't see us I just can't see us losing at Arsenal. I mean, there's that little bit inside me that says they are due a result against us, especially at their place. But I just can't see Arsenal beating us. I mean, even if it was a draw, that would be devastating for them. And I'm trying to think now who their next games are after that. But
they have got the slightly easier run in, Arsenal, I think.
Yeah, they have, but an easy run for Arsenal's usually where they always slip up.
And they're in the Emmerdale Cup. We said this on Thursday, didn't we? The reality is, I don't know why people like Arsenal and Chelsea are talking about their run-ins when we've seen it. You cannot do top four race and win the Europa Cup. You can't do it. You just can't. So they're going to have to make a choice. Yeah,
like I said, the squads are already threadbare now. When trying to juggle Europa League with the Premier League is practically impossible. We've seen that. We've seen United teams turning up to play on the Saturday in the Premier League, absolutely shot. You could tell that the momentum and everything was just lacking. It's practically impossible to play so many games because there's an extra round in the Europa League as well. It does have an effect. We've seen it firsthand. We just went all in on the Europa League and forgot about the league, and luckily we had an easy enough run to get to that final and get through. But that was rolling the dice at its best. And I think Arsenal are going to have to make a decision because as soon as this weekend's over, I think, especially if we beat them, I think they need to go all in on the Europa League.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, March is fine now. You can do Europa League Thursday and Sunday. It's April. That's when it'll hurt them, and that's when it hurt us. Joe Wants says, is it true that United have bid 100 million for Sancho? That was the rumour. We've done a video on that. It was up at lunchtime if you want to go and watch that, Joe. But also, I just must say as well, United Stand football team, we've got trials 3 weeks today, which is March the 24th. The email is unitedstandfc@gmail.com. If you're interested, just give us your age. You've got to be over 18, your location, i.e. what city you are in the UK. Probably not worth doing it if you don't live in the UK because of commuting to games. And also your footballing background, so what your position is and what level you've played at. Obviously, if like me, you just play dog and duck on a Sunday, you're probably not going to get in. We've got some quite good players already who've said that they're going to come down. But there might be some real talent out there, so the details are in the video description for that. Yeah, please do smash a like on the video, and thanks very much for coming on, Adam.
Yeah, anytime, mate.
Definitely, I think Adam's appearance on Thursday definitely boosted his fan cam numbers. I saw you a #1 fan cam watched video yesterday. Obviously behind me, but everyone's always going to be behind me without being arrogant. But
I seen you there with a cameraman on the laptop, making sure you went on first there when everyone else was talking.
It's contractually obliged that I go first. To be honest, I don't. That's the first time I've been first on the fan cams, and it was only because Flex was watching the game with me. But I was walking down and saying, I don't know whether I want to go first because it's going to be really busy. And fair play, I did get eaten by the crowd. But as we were saying afterwards, it was nice to get the chant going at a home game because it's always the away game that happens.
Yeah, it was. If it was going to happen to anyone, mate, it was going to happen on yours. Definitely with that crowd coming out of there.
Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it. I said it to so many people. That is why we watched football yesterday, regardless of what the season is or anything like that. What was it? 1-0 down, 2-1 up, 2-2. They scored 2 worldies, so we couldn't have complained because it's like, wow. And then we win it late on. It was just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was good. Just good to watch an actual decent game of football. That's all we wanted.
Exactly, and long may it continue. I'm just over the moon with what he's doing. I think he'll definitely get the job. And just finally, Adam, PSG. What is your thoughts on it? I mean, I'm going to do a preview tomorrow night on it and stuff, but I haven't really put my mind to it yet. But I am of the opinion that they'll be too good for us, and actually, it's weird, isn't it? Because you prioritise Arsenal, which is basically the race for top 4, but here is a Champions League game on Wednesday night.
I know it's like being like Arsenal, talking like this, isn't it? It's horrible to say. It's because we're only coming back from so far behind under Mourinho that we're actually talking like this. This won't even be a topic if Save Ollie was in from the start of the season. But you have to sort of be realistic about it. And with no Matic, Pereira or Pogba in that midfield against their outfit, you can't see them struggling, but maybe the only thing that will hamper them is a bit of complacence there, thinking we're not full strength. And you know what they're like when they go behind Paris Saint-Germain. They don't seem to be the same team. If they get in front, then they're hard to play against. But if they go behind, you never know. I can't see us, just for their sheer quality and having the team that they've got. Cavani's back as well, so you never know. But I can't see us causing too many problems with that midfield, but let's just wait and see. We'll sit back and enjoy the game. Hopefully a few of the players make a good account of themselves and learn from it, ready for next season. It's all a learning curve for Ollie and a lot of that team, so hopefully onward and upward after that.
Marvin Idden wants the email address for the football team. It's unitedstandfc@gmail.com, but it's all in the video description anyway. And also, I think, look, we're not throwing Wednesday. That's not how anybody's doing. This is obviously because of the first leg. They're 2-0 up with 2 away goals. If it was 0-0, none of us would be saying the priority is Arsenal. We'd be going there and saying, let's get an away goal and knock them out. It's just that we're massively, 2-0 anyway would have been very difficult because they've got 2 away goals, but also the injuries. I just think we'll go and give it a go. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Flex is going over there, and I'm sure a lot of United fans are, but 2 massive games, that's what you want. It's fantastic. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. I'm not sure when Ollie's press conferences is, so we'll certainly do a reaction to that, but I presume it's Tuesday anyway. Have a good evening. Smash a like on video. Subscribe if you're new. Thanks to Adam for coming on.
Cheers, mate. Anytime.
And we'll speak to you all soon. Thank you very much.